How are you?
I am amazing.
I
How are
already know
you?
we're gonna have a good time.
Oh, listen, it's about to be a time. All- well, you got the hubby in the background. This is what I'm saying. It's all of the things. This is what I mean.
Mind you, I told him to not be in the way. I told him to hide.
He's like, listen, no, Robert, come on in. He's like, listen, what's
No,
happening?
no, I don't want to impose.
This is Jameer, by the way.
How you
This is
doing?
Hello.
Robert.
Nice to meet you,
Let me
man.
get out of the way.
Hello, happy holidays, all of the things. Hopefully, you guys had a great holiday. Give me $20. That's all I need. Just
If you give me 40.
and we're already recording, everybody. Welcome back to iHeartRadio, Power 97.5 LA, Power B 97.5 Vegas. Listen, Jeanette, we just turned that voice right on. This is what we do. And Power 97.5 LA, I'm so excited because at the JS Journals and the Jameer Smith Show, I curated this beautiful show in 2020 to highlight creatives and entrepreneurs and people that are just doing some amazing things. And when you think of the heartbeat of journalism, someone that has put in the work. I want everybody to put their hands together for founder and CEO of Jeanette Reyes and the Miss News Lady herself, Jeanette Reyes is in the building.
That is, my goodness, that is quite the introduction. I hope I live up to the expectations. Thank you.
I think you have. I think you've definitely lived up to the expectations. As this year has home through and we're at the end, I wanted to ask you before we start, how has this year been for you? And also, how is your heart?
Mm. Wow, I don't think I've ever been asked that before. I will say this year has been probably my busiest. I've had a lot of projects, obviously a lot of milestones, and I've been fortunate to have some accomplishments, but it's been a little busier than I anticipated. So that will change next year.
That part.
Uh, and as far as my heart, I'd say my heart is open.
Mm,
My heart is open. I find that when your heart is open and your discernment is on,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Only good things can happen.
Only good things. And I think for you, you've had the opportunity to bless a lot of us with some beautiful things at 4 a.m. in the morning. I have to say,
Whew.
shout out to you. I've always started this show by going back. And for me, I want to start with home.
Mm,
And when you think of your father, when you think of a news junkie, that is exactly what he was, right? And
yeah.
is. And I always say always is in the present tense. What did that environment kind of teach you about curiosity and kind of paying attention to the world?
Mm. Well, I'll say my dad was obsessed with the news and also obsessed with history. He was a
Yeah,
history buff. And I think the two complement each other well.
yeah,
But we also had no choice but to appreciate it and to be aware of our surroundings and what's going on in our community and all of that. So what it did teach me was I never looked at journalism and being an anchor as like, oh my goodness, I get to be on TV and
yeah, yeah.
all of that. I saw it first and foremost as valuable, right? Like it was their way to be connected to what was going on back home in the Dominican Republic. We were in Rhode Island.
Hmm.
So connected to their community, informed of what was going on and being able to make decisions based on that.
Yeah.
So that's what I got from it, that journalism is a noble profession. It's a
Mm,
big responsibility.
yeah.
And that when you've lost good journalism and the respect for journalism,
Mm.
you're in trouble.
You are. You are. I remember the other day I was going through some of my contracts, and shout out to contracts. Uh,
Mm.
this lady on this call was supposed to be an attorney, and I should still ask you some attorney questions. But you thought you would be an attorney and not a journalist. Walk us through that moment at Kent State. And at Kent State, when you kind of auditioned for the student newscast, and what kind of clicked for you?
So I should mention I was an exploratory major. I had not picked journalism because I just knew, and I think this is what you're alluding to. I just knew I was going to be an attorney.
Hmm.
And so a friend of mine who knew me very well, and this is why I say it's always good to have friends who know you because they can
Yeah.
spot things that it's like, girl, you think everybody has this skill, right? Like they can identify your gifts that you
Yeah.
might not notice, right?
Yeah.
And so a friend of mine texted me and said, you would be a really good journalist. And I was like, huh. And it just had never occurred to me. So I said, you know what? Why not? Let me go audition at the journalism school for their student newscast. That's what it was.
Okay.
And once I got in front of the camera, and I had never done anything of the sort. I mean, in hindsight, I kind of wish I had been in the like, what is it, like the journalism or the
Said the same
newspaper
thing. Yeah, I said
club
the
in
same
high
thing.
school. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's so much you pick up on
So
even
much.
before you get to
Yeah.
college.
Exactly.
Um, but I got in front of the camera and it just clicked. Like it just felt like I belonged. It felt very natural.
Yeah.
And despite some of the things that I knew I needed to work on, when you feel like you're where you're supposed to be, you're like, oh, I can
Mhm.
work on what? All it
Yeah.
takes is some hard work.
I got
Okay,
this.
sure.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
It is a good feeling. Well, and also the feeling of you've always talked about being fascinated by people and their why. And I think that is the space of where I'm at when it comes to a lot of people these days. What is the with them? Like, what is in it for you? What is it
Yeah.
for me? What is your why? Before journalism became kind of the career, what kinds of stories naturally kind of pulled you in as a young child?
For me, it was immigrant stories.
Mhm.
Seeing so many families who kind of you leave this life behind back at home. You could have
Yeah.
been a doctor, an attorney, whatever it is, and you come here and you start from scratch. And you never know who you're talking to and who they were, who they are. Um, and that always fascinated me. Like, man, there is, especially, and honestly, too, another thing was coming from a Spanish speaking household and appreciating that sometimes, and I think it happens a lot in America, when someone has an accent, we assume they're not intelligent,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And for me, it was always fascinating. Like, man, there is a whole personality there that
It
I
was.
I don't speak your language and I don't have the privilege and the honor of seeing,
Mhm.
right? So for me, like being able to tell people's story and or whether it was the Hispanic community and share their stories and their characters, that was always really fascinating to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, shout out to your mom. Hello, let's be clear. The heartbeat in that entire house and the
Yeah.
babies. But I
Yeah.
mean, if you had to go back to that first time in front of a camera,
Mm.
what did you feel? Right? Nerves, adrenaline, destiny, all of the things. What did you feel?
I thought I was going to pass out. That's what I felt. I felt like my knees were going to give out.
Not, they were buckling. They were buckling a little bit, a
My
little buckle.
goodness. I don't know about you, but man, I talked a good game, but once I got in front of that camera
Woo!
and they were, when
I'm
they're
sweating
tossing me,
everywhere.
gosh. And the photographer, God bless him, he told me minutes before I went on air how many people on average watched. And I did not need to know that information. I mean, I
Yeah.
asked, so it's my
Tell
fault.
me after. Tell me after.
It it felt good. Like the adrenaline rush kind of hit after, like you feel like, oh man, like I can do this. But
Yeah.
I will say, I would have what I now know as like panic attacks. Um,
Mm.
particularly when it was breaking news, every single time, and it was exhausting, and I hated it. Now the after was great. I'm
Yeah.
on cloud nine,
Yeah.
but I got to get
Yeah.
to it. And I had to tell myself, so I started volunteering for breaking news. Like, I'm
Mm.
going to volunteer for this mess because I'm not going to let the fear
Yeah.
control me. I would come into work with anxiety, like, oh my gosh, I hope we don't get breaking news.
And you hit it head,
Um,
you hit it head on. You were like,
and I
I'm,
just, exactly,
yeah. Yeah.
exactly. And I always say that to people, like, you got to run towards your fear because when you can get over that thing, it's
Listen.
like, you're unstoppable.
And I remember I made a video the other day, just kind of highlighting all of my November and the people and the shoulders and the events and
Mhm.
places that I've been. And I said to the creatives, keep going, just start, right? And just keep pushing. And you did that. You did that from the grind of the newsroom. And in my mind, I go back to Little Rock, Arkansas, and just that very first job. 2 years as a general assignment reporter. What were those early days like for you?
Oh man. I mean, steep learning curve.
Mm.
Um, it was you find out pretty early on what your weaknesses are, right? Like, okay, I'm good at this. I really got to work on this. And it can be humbling because
Ooh,
when you're in college, especially as a senior, you're like, man, I got
right.
this. Like, I should be
Right.
right.
Further along. Y'all are behind. What do you mean? What do you
Exactly.
mean?
And also in journalism, like a lot of careers, but in this day and age, it's hard. There's a long time of paying your dues, right? You're not getting paid a
Ooh.
lot, you're working all the holidays, but then you're on social media and you're watching everybody's highlight reels and your friends back home living the good life. And you're like, man, what the heck am I doing covering the Raccoon Festival, Arkansas? You know what I mean?
Look, last night I'm
Oh,
covering the Hollywood parade while
uh-huh.
friends are eating leftover Thanksgiving food.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, partying it up. No, but go ahead. Yeah, to your
Yeah,
point.
no, it tests your love for it,
It
right? Like
does. It
you
does.
really got to ask yourself, is this something I really want to do? And then obviously, you get it a few years down the line and it all makes sense. But it was fun, it was challenging, it was eye-opening.
Yeah.
Um, but I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it.
I said the same thing about just all of the things that we have to experience and go through in life. You know, those are the teachable moments that really help push us. And I love that you said that about humbling ourselves because, I've had a lot of people, this is show 312 on, I said, go ahead, Jameer, you've been talking a long time.
Congrats.
Yeah, I'm like, you've been talking a long time. But with all of that being said, I think of just all of the work that we really do put into just every single day and talk about some work. DC. The rival that we saw earlier, a little earlier on this call,
Oh,
Robert Burton was there. And, the two of you met in DC and became rivals as we've seen. And I love that word rivals because it was like a love rival. I mean, I think it was in the cards early on, and I think the universe saw that. What is it like to love someone who's also your professional competition, we would say?
so I will say we met in Little Rock and we worked
Okay.
at the same station, which
Okay.
was great because it set a good foundation of, at the end of the day, we're on the same team. Uh, and then so I went to DC first. He came. We were still at the same station at the ABC station. Then I left to Philly because
Okay.
I wanted to leave that station. You know about the non-competes.
You do. I do.
Yeah. And
I,
then I came back to the rival station. So I'm
yeah.
at Channel 5, he's at Channel 7.
Okay.
We're head to head, 6 o'clock hour, both anchors. And
Right.
ratings talks were interesting. When he was winning, it was like, you know what, these numbers, they're not really accurate. And we really got to talk to these people about these ratings. When I was winning, I was just like, I know that's right. Like
Right.
finally some accuracy. So it was all fun. I loved it. I think that was our favorite. That was my favorite time of our careers, actually.
Well, and I think probably he'll say the same, when it comes
Yeah.
to you guys together, and we love to see that on social. But you worked in a range of newsrooms, as you
Mm.
said as well, across the country. How did each station kind of sharpen a difficult or really in a different part of your voice and really kind of challenge and push your voice and your instincts and really your storytelling philosophy?
I would say Arkansas taught me what journalism is, right? Like it was my first introduction to just the basics of journalism.
Hmm. Hmm.
DC, I went from Arkansas to DC. That was a big jump and it was a steep learning curve. I
Yeah.
was around, I mean, these are the big timers, Leah
Right.
Harris and this is the real deal.
Yeah.
It was a little terrifying at first in a different way because in Arkansas we were all newbies. We were all
Yeah.
young.
So you
In,
were all working together. Yeah.
exactly. In DC, I mean my coworkers got 20, 30 years on me. So it made me, I had to learn how to ask questions, get
Mhm.
feedback. I looked at their stuff. Okay, they covered this story, like the night shift, for example, was following up on my story. They covered it this
Mhm.
way. I could have done that, right? And then Philly, man, I talk about gritty. I mean, a lot of breaking news. I covered a lot of crime, some of it really gruesome. I think Philly was what cracked my heart open. in what I mean by that, cracked my heart open for all to see. That's what I'll say. It was the first time I cr almost cried on air. I mean, it was obvious that I
To
was going
say,
to start
I was
crying.
gonna say, how was your mind during that time?
I I ended up going to therapy. It was partially because of that.
Hmm.
Because it's this, you want to remain an empathetic person, but you don't want your empathy to interfere with your storytelling. And so it was just very difficult for me. It was a lot of kids, being the victims of crime. I remember, I mean, it was like you are there, and this is happening all the time at someone's lowest point in their life. Like
Yeah.
one time
Yeah.
I didn't know that this woman hadn't known that her son had died.
Oh wow.
And I was the first to tell her. And that just like stays with you, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think Philly broke my heart open in a very public way. And I had to kind of come to terms with the human side of journalism and that
Hmm.
they can coexist.
Hmm.
And then DC was what
Oof.
DC was my most authentic self, right? Like I could wear my hair how I wanted. I could really show my full personality. I'll say
Hmm. Um, I wanted to pop into a question that kind of coincides to what we were talking about. Nicole from Brooklyn, she heard that you were going to be on the show, and she says, Jeanette, your schedule used to start at 4 a.m. I know we kind of touched on that as well. Walk us through a day in the life look like at Fox 5 DC, and what kept you going
that.
on 2 cups of coffee and pure adrenaline?
Well, those were key. I love my coffee, child.
Listen,
Um,
I'm a tea drinker. Everybody been trying to get me off. I'm like, give me tea, all hot
oh
teas.
my gosh. I
I
respect
cannot,
you.
I cannot drink coffee. I don't know why. I can smell it in my home, but that's it. I'm like, after that, I'm good.
Wow, I'm trying to get on your level. So I would wake up at about 4 o'clock, make my coffee, or my mom would bring it to me. She was really great about helping how she could, however she could.
Yeah.
I would do my makeup at the house, like full. They had a makeup room at the station, but I kind of liked the quietness and stillness in the mornings
Mhm.
at home. So I put on full glam, get my stuff.
You did your full glam.
Oh yeah, full face,
I love
everything.
it.
Red lip,
You like,
all
I'm
of
about to beat this face,
that.
me. And I'm gonna go in and you're like, ma'am, did you come from somewhere? Yeah,
Yeah,
home.
exactly, exactly.
Oh
And
my.
then I would get to the station, I would finish doing my hair, and then I would look over scripts, tweak whatever I needed to
Yeah.
match my voice, find out what was the latest news, what was developing, link up with my co-anchor. We made a really good team. He was my favorite co-anchor, Steve Shenevy.
Shout out
And
to
then,
yeah.
yeah, it's coworkers truly can make or break your job.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And that was the hardest part of me leaving. I had amazing coworkers. And then we would start the newscast at 6 o'clock, and it would be nonstop until I ended up asking for a break, nonstop from 6 to 11. Four to
Wow.
five live interviews. And that was the other thing. So I would do a lot of prep for my interviews. It would be 4 to 5 live interviews. It could be the governor of Maryland, LL Cool J, then a local business owner. I mean, it
Yeah.
was like all
Yeah.
the things. And I would do a lot of my prep the night before. So, doing research on everybody, much like you, I can tell you've done your research. And yeah, and I would be prepared and ready to go on that front by morning. So 6 to 11, wrap up at 11, record anything that needed to be, pre-recorded for the next day, and read up on the news until I left at 1.
Love it. Well, listen, if you guys are just joining us, welcome back to Power 97.5 LA and iHeartRadio. We have the phenomenal Ms. News Lady herself, Jeanette Reyes, is in the building. I want to talk about the power of pivot and purpose. And what was that inner conversation that kind of convinced you that it was time to step away from that anchor desk?
I would say, so I should mention I loved my job and I planned on retiring there. I mean, I was in
Mm.
heaven. I know some of my coworkers probably were so annoyed because this was like, what is this girl so happy about all the dang time?
You're like, I'm
Love
just
the
happy to be at work. I'm happy to do my job. What do you
job. Right,
mean?
right.
Right. They're like, girl, it's 4 a.m. Calm down.
I know, I know. But I had kind of been building this social media following for no other reason other than I just enjoyed it, right? I couldn't monetize. A lot of people don't know that when you're in journalism, you're not allowed to have a side gig, certainly not accept paid partnerships because of potential conflicts of interest, right? So if I'm reporting on Nike and Nike has a scandal, or if I did a partnership with Nike and then Nike has a scandal, now I'm reporting on Nike, you're probably going to wonder how objective I am, right?
Exactly.
So I'm turning down really without a problem. I'm turning down offers from Target, from Fenty, from Dove for probably about a year or so.
Wow.
And then there was an offer that I really, really didn't want to turn down. Aside from some dynamics at work changing a little bit, I'm realizing I'm going to be working the holidays, all of them for many years. I'm also tired, but I
Yeah.
love this thing, right? But anyway, so I figured, you know what, maybe I can find some kind of compromise with my bosses on this. And there really was just no way. I had to really pick one or the other. So I told myself I could just do this social media thing. I did my research. I knew I could at least make my income.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I could do this thing, strike while the iron's hot. If it doesn't work out, journalism will always be here. I can just come back. And then if not, great. And I ended up telling my news director that I wasn't going to renew my contract about 3 months before the end of my contract. And it was terrifying at first because it was very public, right?
It
Everybody
was.
wondering why the heck did she leave? And I realized, and it's something that a lot of people I feel like, especially of our generation, don't realize. You can love your job and still grow out of it and
Absolutely.
fall out of alignment with it.
Mhm.
And once I embraced that you don't have to be pushed out, you don't have to hate it. Though you don't have to be forced out in
You
order to
don't.
be like, you know what? I actually want to try something new. And that's totally,
Yeah. And that's okay.
yeah,
Well, and I think to your point, and I was having this conversation with some friends the other day about we don't come from the generations of our parents, right? Our parents are like, stick it out. You got a great job.
right.
You're making a lot of money, just work it out and
Yeah.
retire there. And I think of my mom and my dad and how they both retired and my mom is still working and all of the things. And I'm just like, ma'am, you don't want to just like travel? He's like, hey, let's go to Barbados. Let's go to London. And she's like, well, I got to go to work. And I think to your point, a lot of people needed to hear that because it's okay to be in love with your job and then say, it's time for me to say goodbye because
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
something new that's in the horizon. And your new was Jeanette Reyes LLC. And what I love about this is that you envisioned this and you had the manifestation and brands saw this, before and knew that they wanted to collaborate with such an amazing person. But when you think of just how you built these brand partnerships and the production and the freedom of things. How did it feel to move from being told what stories to cover to creating your own digital lane?
Hmm. That's a great question. I would say it felt liberating. Um,
Mm,
and you start to see what you're good at, what your interests are when you don't have certain parameters. Um, and it feels really good and it's very affirming, right?
yeah,
There's a feeling you get when you're like, my gut was right, my intuition
yeah,
was right. You know what I mean? There is something here, and this does speak to me. Um, so yeah, it was great. And it's funny because I was kind of building this unknowingly simply by doing something I enjoy. Like
yeah.
it's funny when your hobby becomes
Listen,
your purpose or your
say
job.
that back there to those people. Yeah, listen.
Yeah, that little hobby you have could
Woo.
be your calling, you
That
know?
part. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I remember because you just said something earlier, and before, and guys, I had the amazing opportunity to meet this beautiful soul. Literally I was leaving from lunch at the Forbes Walmart event here in LA, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that's Jeanette Reyes, and everyone was like, that's Jeanette Reyes, and I was just like, oh my God, let
Aw.
me get this woman on this show because her heart is so pure, and how you hit the stage and you gave some really good nuggets to people. But there was a woman who hit the stage, I think the day before, and she said something about being a content creator. And she said exactly what you said. If I can make what I'm making at my current salary, then I know that I've done what I needed to do and then
Right.
got it. I got this now. So now let's continue to move this forward. But you You said your brother used to tease you, and I
Yeah.
always wish I had. I'm an only child. I have brothers and sisters. But your brother used to tease you with your anchor tone. What's the story behind the news voice that everyone loves to copy? Because I remember my favorite, or a couple of favorite ones, is when you're at drive-throughs and you're just
Oh, right.
tricking the folks. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what's the story behind the news voice?
Oh man, this was peak pandemic 2020.
Yeah.
I had been trying some things on TikTok. I really out of boredom and they were not hitting. Because they weren't really me. Like I was just kind of following trends or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my husband, I was like, for a couple of weeks, I'd been telling him, I'm like, I feel like we could do a video on the anchor voice.
Mm-hmm.
Because my brother, to the story that you were saying, he had always kind of made fun of me. Because it's like, why do you talk like this when you go on air? Like
They
you
said
don't talk
the
like that in real
same thing.
life.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Right, right. And I was like, I feel like there's something here. Like I feel like a lot of people know this voice. Like they
Yeah,
recognize it. They
they
don't know
do.
exactly how we do it, but it's right, it's a thing. And I was like, it's either going to be really cringy
Hmm.
or it's going to be hilarious or
Or
it'll be both.
it was gonna say it'd be both. Yeah,
You're
yeah,
right.
yeah.
And I convinced him to do the video with me. And it was we did the anchor voice about what we were going to eat for dinner. So I was like, "Good evening, your time now is 5:52. I'm Jeanette Reyes. We're trying to figure out what we're going to eat for dinner tonight." And then we ended it with kind of like a code switch where I was like, "All right, man, we'll just do McDonald's." And we posted it and I think within 24 hours it hit 1 million views.
See?
And, Jimmy Kimmel retweeted it and AOC and a few other people. And I will say my biggest regret from that time was that I didn't lean into it. When
Really?
Anchor Voice would go viral, I always knew when I posted a video doing the Anchor Voice that it would perform well.
Yeah.
When I saw it performing well, I'd back off for a couple of weeks because I
Oh,
didn't want people to get sick of it. What I didn't realize then is that you are not your audience. You might be sick of it, but they're not.
they're
You
not.
need to lean into it and do different iterations of it and
Hmm.
posting until they yell at you to
Hmm.
stop. And that's
They're
when you
like,
see
ma'am,
things
you got
work.
something else? You got something else? Until then, I'm gonna keep this
Yeah,
train rolling. Yeah.
absolutely. Because repetition is
Yeah.
key, number one.
Yeah.
And it also shows it to new audiences. But anyway, to answer your question, that's how it all started. And then we just, built from there.
Well, and many creators kind of talk about the pressure to consistently perform, right, or to produce. To your point, what boundaries have you set so that the digital creation kind of still feels joyful, right? Especially during this holiday
Yeah.
season, throughout the new year, all of the things, but also making sure that it feels intentional and it's kind of really much aligned with your purpose.
I will say it was easier to set boundaries when I didn't do this for a living.
Yeah.
I'll admit that. With work, it was always easy to be like, I got a job. You know what? I do
Right.
this for fun. And I might ghost you for a few days, but it didn't because it didn't affect my bank account, right? So now there is that struggle of, consistency is kind of key when that's what one of the things brands like to look at. Do you just go ghost for a few months or a
Mm,
few weeks or even a few days? But I I push the limit a little bit in terms of I might not feel like it, but I'm gonna post something today.
yeah.
Where I do draw the line is I don't post what I haven't resolved.
Mm,
So, or what I'm not prepared to have criticism or critique on.
yeah.
One of those things is my relationship. I don't
Mm,
talk about my relationship really at all or in detail. It'll be very vague.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
the stand I take on that one is I'm not interested in people criticizing or giving their opinions on it.
Correct.
And I feel like once you put something out there, people feel like it's fair game.
Yeah.
But also, if I'm not going to talk about, like, if I'm going to talk about the good, I would feel inauthentic not talking about the bad as well. I don't want
Yeah.
to perpetuate this idea of perfection. So yeah, my relationship is one, and a little bit of motherhood,
Okay.
and then just personal stuff. That's where I draw the line.
Okay. I'm the same. I think some how far do you go? And I was like, these are my boundaries. Everything
Yeah.
else is free game. Everything else is free game.
Mhm.
But you touched on this. Talk about the response. I went to the National Association of Black Journalism Gala a couple of weeks ago as they were honoring some amazing journalists. And this conversation was had about here in LA about representation and being
Mhm.
able to see ourselves. And so many Black women that I talked to at the Forbes event, to the National Association of Black Journalism see themselves in you? And before I ask this question, I just want to say thank you for your footprint. Thank you for the blueprint that you even set and the shoulders really that you stood on. Um, Talk about the response from the viewers of color who say, I finally see myself in media, but in a fun, everyday way. What is your take on code switching today, especially for the Black and Latin journalists who are redefining professionalism on color?
Hmm.
On camera, I'm sorry. Yeah.
You know, I'm happy to see that there is, I think that authenticity is much more embraced now than even when
Yeah.
I started, right?
Hmm.
I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
that long ago. Um, I,
Stop.
I'm not going to age myself, but I think there's much more openness.
Yeah.
Before, I mean, that's why the anchor voice even came to be, right? Because you didn't want people to be able to identify where you were from. So
Yeah.
we don't want to be able to tell that you're from Rhode Island or from Louisiana. We want
Hmm.
something that's neutral because it's distracting. I think it's much more open now than it was before, down to how we speak, to our hair. I mean, I worked at a station where they had to say as to where my hair part was, whether it was a middle or side part. And it was a no. I had to keep it on the side part. The length, the tightness of the curl, the color, everything.
Every, yeah.
And to see that things are much looser now is 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 really great because I remember the burden that it would place on me. It felt
Mhm.
very restricting. It felt inauthentic, and it's also expensive,
I mean,
disproportionately on
just
people of color.
yeah, very much so. I want to get into some questions because people that absolutely love you wrote into the show. And first question comes from Nick. Nick is out of Atlanta, Georgia. He says, Jeanette, what did you learn about presentation? This is interesting. What did you learn about presentation and self care in those 4 a.m. makeup sessions?
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. I learned that the body keeps count, child. You know what
Does
I
the
mean?
body keep count? Okay.
I feel like coffee, adrenaline, hustle keeps you going for but so long, but you pay for it eventually.
You do.
You know what I mean? I mean, there's the little things like I wasn't as sharp or as witty when I didn't sleep as well. But then there's also just you crash eventually.
You do.
You know, it's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
And then there's the long-term effects. So I say you have to, it doesn't happen by accident. You have to be intentional about your self-care.
Um, Brittany out of Los Angeles, she says, walk us through your on-air routine from Fenty primer to those legendary, is it the Ardell Wispies?
Oh yes, Ardell lashes, the wispies. Yeah, yeah,
What products made you feel the most powerful under studio lights? And I
yeah.
think she's a student at USC. Got it.
Okay, great question because I always looked for products that, especially when I was a reporter, that held up in the humidity, the rain, the snow, right? Like you have to look
You do.
flawless on camera. So I would say the NARS Forever Matte foundation is amazing. The NARS concealer is also great. Huda Beauty um,
Mm.
powder, amazing. And then as far as a setting spray, so I'm talking, these are the things that are like really going to make the biggest difference. I won't go through the whole list, but the setting spray from Urban Decay, All Nighter, that's
Yeah,
a go.
yeah,
I mean, that's a classic.
yeah.
But you got to pair it with the One Size waterproof setting spray.
Ooh.
Those two together are incredible. And yes, as far as lashes, Ardell Wispies are incredible. I would use them multiple times because I'm not about to buy and use
You
it.
like, no, no, no. Can we can still reuse them? Back, put them back on.
Absolutely.
It's interesting because all of these are beauty questions. This one comes from Tiffany. Tiffany is out of Long Beach, and she says, and coincides to what you just said, and about skincare. You've got a full blown regimen, and she loves your skincare. What is your philosophy on taking care of the face behind the story?
Mm. But literally the face, she means?
Yeah, just literally the face.
Oh man. I would say your routine shouldn't be burdensome. It should be therapeutic.
Mm,
Find a way to make it therapeutic so that you look forward to it and so that it's doing good for you physically, but also mentally.
yeah.
Um, so that's my philosophy. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be 12 steps. But I will say, please wear sunscreen.
Please,
Two things you need.
please.
Sunscreen. I love the Beauty of Joseon sunscreen. This is not sponsored. It's incredible.
Fan.
But
Yeah.
also a serum. Anything that's like active, that's gonna be your like what is it? That's gonna do the heavy lifting. So get
Yeah.
you a good serum, you're good to go.
Um, I want to get into faith, family in the future because you have done some amazing work on really rebuilding, building, and now setting this future legacy up. How has faith kind of anchored you through this transition of uncertainty?
Oh man. It's been everything because I always say, whether it's a pivot or anything else, you got to be 10 toes down.
Yeah.
Because if it's like a half pivot, if it's a shaky pivot, you might as well go ahead and make a U-turn. You know what I
You
mean?
have to, yeah.
So it's been what has kept me firm
Okay.
and helped me pivot boldly, um, in a way that it has been successful both in terms of what people see, but just in terms of like my mindset
Mhm.
and my mental health. Faith has been everything, and even in our relationship, right? Because this is a big decision that we've both made.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
both got to have faith that you
you
make
do.
the right move and that it's going to work out.
What lessons from your parents, especially your father's passion for the news,
Mm.
do you hope to pass on to your daughter?
That storytelling is powerful, whether you're doing it formally or informally, and that everybody has a story.
Mm,
And you have to honor yours, be true to yours. You have to know your story and
yeah,
the stories that came
yeah,
before you. But that it's also your job to be open to other people's stories and respect them as well, however different they might be from yours.
as we get ready to wrap our show, I remember in 2020, I had recurated the end of the show. It's now called the therapy session. And it's
Ooh.
one of those moments that I never give anyone, publicists, assistants, the guests, no one ever knows the questions because it's the first thing that hits your mind, that comes to your lips and just spit it out. You don't have time to really think about it. For you, Jeanette, what is a childhood memory that always makes you smile?
Oh man.
This is the face that I love to see.
Oh, jeez. Wow, that's a tough one.
And it could be multiple.
You know what? Actually, a childhood memory that makes me smile was when my parents, my sister, and I went to the Dominican Republic, and my dad was walking us through his neighborhood and where he grew up.
Mm.
At the time, I was thinking, okay, like, yeah, got it, awesome, okay. And now I look at it as how intentional they were about reminding us of our roots.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like your roots are everything and you have to know them and you have to be acquainted with them
Yeah.
because they will be what ground you
Yep.
and what reminds you of who you are. And
Yeah.
when you know your roots, you know where you're going and where you shouldn't be going.
That part. Talking about should not be going. What is a life lesson you've learned the hard way?
Man, um, making decisions based on how you'll be perceived.
Mm.
I was really stuck on, and it's still something I work on, sometimes making the unpopular decision.
Wow.
whether it's the people you're friends with or the jobs you don't take, or and I think the biggest accomplishment of pushing back on that was leaving my job, right? Like
Yeah.
my extended
Yeah.
family was like, what the hell is this girl doing?
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, but I'll say anytime I've made a decision based on that fear, it has not gone well.
Wow.
Yeah, because
Okay.
you're betraying yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like you're centering other people. And sometimes it immediately in the near, in the short term, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
And you find out in the
Long
end,
term. Yeah.
yeah.
Where do you see yourself in a year? End of 2026. It's December 1st today. Where do you
I
see yourself?
I see myself, oh man, I see myself, gosh, trying to think of how to word this. I see myself really prioritizing self-care and rest.
Mm.
And nurturing, because I think my ambition with this pivot
Mm.
kind of made me forget why I did it in the first place. And it was to spend more time with family and friends. So I see myself kind of having nurtured a lot of my friendships and my relationships and making more time for that. And using this pivot as a vehicle, as a means for that,
Mm.
as opposed to the point. The
It,
pivot wasn't the point. It's
the
what the
pivot
point
was
gets.
not the point. What has Robert taught you about love?
Of course, he walks in right now. He just turned around. Oh man.
Great. It's the alignment of timing. I love it.
Um, that love is unwavering. Love isn't selfish. Love is abundant,
Mm.
and love isn't restricting. I would say that. And love is freeing. Love, if your love doesn't make you feel free, you might want to ask yourself if it's really love.
You've had the opportunity to learn some beautiful nuggets from your dad and providing an amazing platform of news,
Mhm.
understanding the roots of your family, going back home and really understanding what does that soil really feel like under the feet of
Mhm.
family that have worked really hard to put you in a great space. But then you've built yourself to become a great storyteller. And then you've grinded in many different newsrooms to pivoting and really understanding your purpose. But then when you think of yourself and your husband and your family, all of the things of the culture and the creativity, the code switching, all of the things that had to happen to really put you in this space, but the
Mhm.
beauty also and the discipline behind the brand that you are continuing to evolve and the family tree. Jeanette Reyes, what do you want your legacy to be?
I would say I'd sum it up in a sentence that you don't owe the old version of you a lifetime subscription. Whether it is professionally, personally, heck, it could be a relationship.
Hmm.
It could be a stay-at-home mom that's like, you know what, I actually want to do this.
Yeah,
But whatever it is that you are allowed to evolve and that you owe it to yourself as a human
yeah.
to evolve.
Jeanette, I want to thank you for your voice. But I want to thank you most importantly for your heart. The heart that you have put into this work, the heart that you put into storytelling, to journalism, the heart that you give your husband every day, the heart that you give your kid, your family, but most importantly, the heart that you give yourself. Any last words you want to leave for any of your fans and people that follow you and all of your new followers on iHeart and Power 97.5 LA? Any last words?
I would say there's probably some people listening who have been kind of thinking about something that they really want to do,
Yeah.
and they're probably fearful and scared and second guessing themselves. And I say, do it scared but prepared.
Yeah.
And fear is only an indication that you really care about this thing. It is not an indication that it's not the right move.
Mhm.
Don't confuse fear with your intuition. Uh, you owe yourself a plan, though. So
Yeah.
figure out what that plan is. And I do want to say something to you, actually.
Please. Please.
This has been one of the most pleasant interviews I've ever done. I mean, you're obviously you've done your research and you're informed, but you really have a gift for um, seeing people, asking the right questions, and just facilitating what I hope was and what felt like a great conversation.
It was an amazing conversation. I want everyone to make sure that they continue to support you again on Instagram at Ms. Newslady. And then you are the co-host of the AWF, the Record Podcast, as well as Sephora Squad in 2025. What else you got going on so that people can support you and put some money on that Christmas check?
Ah,
So we gotta get some Christmas stuff for the babies. And I know Robert got a list that he hadn't told you about.
oh gosh,
So, you know,
yes. Prime to Pivot. I guess I should plug that. It's my 75-page ebook on
come
anyone
on.
looking to make a pivot in life. It's how I did it, what I wish I had done and hadn't done. And hopefully it's something you can add to your toolkit if you want your new year to be a new you.
That's it. And I appreciate you always, Jeanette, just for your footprint. And as we always say on Power 97.5 LA and on Global Media, the JS Journals and the Jameer Smith Show and iHeartRadio, stay positive, but stay creative. Until next time, thank you for tuning in.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you
Absolutely.
later.
Bye.